Hello and welcome to today's episode. This episode's going to be a bit different. It's not so much following me around and the stuff that I'm doing to the car. It's a bit more of a how-to. I sort of look around and I see lots of particularly new guys going out to a drift track with 2 hours of sleep, and it just looks really, really difficult. Their car doesn't work and they have all sorts of issues. So just want to make a video that's more based around the preparation for events and what you can do to make your life a bit easier when you're out on track. Because, I see so many dudes come out and you got the money side of drift, but you've also got the time and effort, and they'll put on all this time and effort. Things won't go the right way. They won't check the right stuff. They won't have the right tools, and they end up having a crappy weekend because of it. I don't want as many people drifting as possible, so hopefully this helps a few people out there, gives them ideas to how to prep themselves for an event. So I've got a top 10 list of items here that might make you time out drifting a bit easier. Obviously none of these are based around on track, and none of these are really expensive items, because it's all good to say get yourself a car trailer, get yourself a good tow vehicle, but if you haven't got the money, the means and the space, that's not going to help you. So these are more based around just little things that you can do that don't cost too much to make your weekend drifting a bit easier and get a few more laps on track. So let's go take a look at this top 10. So item number 1 on my list, that's going to be to put everything that you can in some kind of tub when you go to the drift event. I see lots of people pack in the back of their wagons or four-wheel drives or whatever tow car they've got, and they're grabbing individual small items to put in the back of the car, and that's just way too hard. So what I reckon you should do, and what I do instead, is everything that I've got that can fit inside a tub has its own tub. You got your fluids over here, all of them in one tub, so I don't have to think about grabbing oil, water, power steering fluid, brake fluid. All of it's in here. I just grab this one tub. I even put my jack in this box. This might be a little hard to fit some jacks in a box, but jack in a box. Everything you can, put it in a tub. That way, when you go to the track, all you have to do is grab one tub, put it in the car, rather than 15 individual items. And again, when you're at the track, pull that one tub out, put it next to your pit bay. It's going to make life a lot easier. The other thing that I do is also I work out of these tubs as they are in the garage. So when I need to grab something out, I just grab it out of the tub and then put it back. Means when I go to pack to go to the track, all I have to do is grab the whole tub, make sure everything that I want is in there, and then I take it out, put it in the back of the car. Makes life a lot easier. So item number 2 is write a list for all the stuff that you need at an event, and continually go back to that list before each event to make sure you've got everything. So this is my list here. Not everyone's going to have a computer to run Google Sheets in their garage, but most people do have a laptop, or at the very least you can use your phone. So I've got all my items here, so helmets, passenger helmets, race suit, jumper cables, spares, tools, everything that I need, even camera gear in some cases. I've listed it by what box it's actually in, and then I just put an X next to it when I've checked it off. So when it comes to event time, I get all my tubs and all the bits and pieces that I keep the items in, put them in the center of the garage, and I go through this list to make sure everything's there. Then everything in the center of the garage goes into the car. That way I don't have to guess that I've got everything. I don't have to look around and spend 20 minutes just randomly looking, hoping that I find something that I might need. I know everything is there because I've got a list. So doesn't actually take that long, probably takes about 5 minutes. And it's just the process of writing out that list, because everyone's is different. So item number 3, again, it's a pretty simple one, but it can make a big difference, particularly if you're rushing to get to an event or if you haven't got much time to prep, and it's put a trickle charger onto your battery in between events. Some of us are quite lucky and we get to do events fairly often, and that is enough for the battery to be all okay. But a lot of us do events every couple of months, and batteries have a tendency to die if they're not being charged in that time. Particularly because you start the car, you move it around, you stop it, you start the car, you test something, electrical, so you leave the ignition on for a bit and your battery runs out. So I got this trickle charger here. So just a cheap one from J-Car, but it does the job. So save yourself some batteries, save yourself a bit of money, and make sure that when it comes time to load the car up or do whatever you need to, you've got a full battery to start her up. So item number 4 is bring a tire dolly with you. There's nothing worse than having to push essentially 4 wheels to the tire changer and you're pitted up the other side of the event. So This is a tyre dolly that I built. It's got 2 caster wheels on the front, and then another 2 wheels that aren't casters on the rear. But yeah, just some kind of dolly to move your tyres around. I see people all the time pushing tyres, push 3 or 4 tyres, and some make a run for it off to the side, or they're trying to push them down a hill, and it just seems like a pain in the ass. This way, nice and easy, just roll it over the tyre changer, leave it there, and come back for them when they're done. So halfway through the list now, this is item number 5, and this is one that I've campaigned for a long time. And I see people making this mistake all the time, particularly when they're building a new car. They've got some high horsepower engine at the front. They've got a RB25 box or something like that. And then what they do is they go and put the most racy, non-forgiving, triple plate, ceramic clutch that they can possibly find in it. Go out, do a couple of laps, give it a good old clutch kick, and break the gearbox, diff, or axles pretty much instantly. The reason for that is the clutch is supposed to be a actual weak point in the driveline, so that if something does go wrong, it will spin the clutch. It's not going to break your stuff. You can recover from a clutch spinning or slipping and not have too much of an issue. I know I've done it a lot, and I've never actually broken a diff or an axle, and I've only actually broken 1 gearbox in the entire time I drifted this 180 with the standard CA box in it, because it's always had an organic clutch. So if anything ever went wrong, or if I got a bit greedy, it'd just spin the clutch, do a cool down lap, and come straight back at it. So make the clutch not crazy strong. Don't get some overrated bloody clutch and then break gearboxes all day, because gearboxes are getting bloody expensive. So item number 6 on this list is probably one that most drifters actually do. So this is probably more for the new guys that don't have as much horsepower or haven't had as much invested in it yet, and that is make sure that you've got a spare set of rims and always got a spare set of tyres on those rims ready to go, because you never know when you're going to come in and you're going to have issues, spend the whole time trying to fix the car, and then you're going to be up for the next session or the next battle, and you're not going to have tyres ready to go. So at least if you've got a spare set ready to go, you can chuck them on the car and head straight out. There's also issues I know where I've had tyre changing lines being longer than it takes for a session to happen, and you end up missing out on track time. So at least if you've got a spare set ready to go, you're always going to be 1 or 2 sessions ahead. Well, item number 7 is another list-based item, and I know that these are boring, but they're actually handy for a reason. And that is, like I said with before, run Google Sheets, maybe on your phone when you're at an event, and then write down the issues that you've got with the car and the things that you've found as you're going in between sessions. I hear a lot of people, surprising number of people, that will go out to a drift day and have some issues, and then 2 months later they'll go out on track and they'll have the exact same issues because they forgot that they were issues. They might have 3 issues overall. They remember the 2 most important ones, but number 3 slips their mind. They never fix it. They go out to the track again and they've got the same problem. So if you've got issues with the car or even just setup changes, you can write them down on a piece of paper, but I find Google Sheets on the phone. Just do a quick note, and that way when you get back home and you've left the car in the shed for a month and you go to look at it again, you're going to remember all the issues that you've had and the things that you thought about when you're at the event. Number 8 on the list is bring a decent spares package with you to the track. There's nothing worse than a $20 part ending your day. So here's some of the parts that I've got. I've got fan belts. I've actually got 2 of them. I've got brake pads, coil packs, a bunch of spark plugs. I've got even a couple of injectors and a couple of diff shims, a radiator cap. Over here's all the electrical, so I've got a whole bunch of extra wire, some crimp connectors, bulbs, fuses. Multimeter, obviously not a spare, but always take a multimeter with you because that's a bloody handy thing to have in case you have electrical issues. Got extra wheel nuts, a whole box just dedicated to random bolts because you never know when you're going to need a bolt or 2. Down here is all of the extra hoses that I've collected over the last couple of years. Even if they're a bit knackered, I generally just cut off the bit that's got a hole in it and then I keep the rest of it. You never know when that extra bit of hose is going to help you MacGyver your way out of a situation. So that's some really good stuff to have. Also things like arms in case you hit someone, or tie rod ends, axles, turbo gaskets. that sort of stuff is going to be really handy to have. Might take you an hour or two to change some of those items, but if you've got a full day of drifting, that's still going to get you out on track again. So have a think about what you need and take it with you to the track. Better to have it and not need it than the other way around. Number 9 on my list goes back to the old saying of keep it simple, stupid. I see plenty of people get way too excited with their car builds, build this monster of a car that's either way too unreliable or way too expensive to actually run, and they end up leaving the sport because of those factors. So have a think about what you want out of the car, what makes you happy in drift, and build yourself towards that, rather than just trying to build the most sick monster of a car out there, because honestly, once it gets to those points, things get so expensive or so unreliable that it just it drives people a bit insane. So simple cars are going to be a lot more fun in general, maybe not for one lap, but they'll be going to be more fun over the time that you've got the car. Not to say that you shouldn't build some monster of a car, but don't expect it to be out there all the time on the track. The more simple a car is, and the less power, probably the more likely you are to get more laps in. Number 10 on the list, and this is a big one. This is probably the one that I would do out of all of them if I could only do one, and that is spanner check the car before the event. Jack it up in the air, take the wheels off, check all the bolts for the suspension, make sure that no arms are cracked or anything like that. Go through the engine bay, again spanner check, look for oil leaks, gaskets, for particularly turbo side of things that might be leaking or about to blow, and run the car and listen to the engine as you're running it. Give yourself a bit of time too. Don't do it a week before the event or a day before the event. Do it 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out. Give yourself some time to go through the car, even if the car's not completely ready to run yet or it's missing parts. Go through the bits that you've got and just take a look at the car, because running those eyes over it is going to make a big difference when it comes to spotting issues that could have been fixed before you ended up at the track. Well, that's my list of 10 things that's hopefully going to make people's life at the drift track a little bit easier. It's pretty basic stuff, I know, but there is so many people out there not doing this kind of stuff, and they're making their life so much more difficult than it needs to be. So thought I'd put this video together and hopefully help them out a bit. It's a bit different content for me, I know, because I don't have any money at the moment. I'm spending it all on house renovations, so I haven't got cool parts to put on Smokey or any money to go drive it other than the SA Drift Series comps. So at the moment, I'm just doing this as something a bit different, and also a bit of filler for the meantime. Let me know if you like it. Chuck a like or a comment. I can't really tell from views alone, because I've got a couple of ideas for a similar sort of format, but with different aspects of drift. So yeah, if you like it, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next episode. Cheers.